comes to B2B cold calling, one of the most annoying things is fucking receptionists. And to get past receptionists, there's a few different ways you can go about it, and you can actually make use of them a lot more than the average cold caller actually does. So, when I mention the word gatekeeper, by the way, that is just another way of saying receptionist because the receptionist is the gatekeeper to the decision maker, to the person you want to be speaking to. So the role of the gatekeeper is pretty simple. It's to stop shit salesmen wasting their boss's time trying to pitch them. So they're trying to stop the shit salesman get through. So if you're a good salesman, you're going to get past the receptionist and be able to speak to their boss, the decision maker who you want to be speaking to. And the goal really is obviously to stop the shit salesman, but also to connect customers, people with genuine inquiries, connect those people with the correct person inside the business. And at the same time, they also are and can act as a personal assistant or even a secretary to the boss, to the decision maker, to the person you want to be speaking to. So that's the main three roles. Stop shit salesman speaking to the boss, don't waste his time. Connect people with inquiries, with questions to the right person within the business. And then also they do act as a secretary assistant for the boss. So keep those three things in mind because the three different approaches and the three different ways we can use a receptionist kind of come off the back of each of those points there. So number one, how to approach a receptionist. So there are different ways to approach them based on the information you have going into the call. So this slide is particularly for when you have minimal information. So when the lead list is maybe just a business name, phone number, email, and you don't have any personal names at all, and you're literally going to call at a blank. You know the business, you know the industry, but apart from that, you don't have much. So you call up, and the way you want to call is you want to be very confused and very inquisitive. So it's more as in you're not salesy at all. You're just someone calling up looking for help. So here, if we go back, this really actually plays into the connect customers and inquiries with the correct person. So when you're doing this approach, when you have minimal information, you're really playing on the part of the role for the receptionist that their job is to connect people who need help with the right person in the business. So when you take a really non-salesy approach and be really confused and inquisitive when you're approaching to them, you do this through your tone and actually what you say. When you do this, they're inclined to help you because it's actually part of their role. But you don't want to let on that you're a salesman. And there's certain ways of doing this depending on the offer. So as you can see here, this is a specific script I use in one of my cold calling teams for a PR offer I'm running. And with this one here, it's talking about getting them published in Yahoo Finance and regarding PR. So we actually particularly, this is a script all my guys use. So hi, I'm not really sure who I should be talking to, but maybe you can help me. I'm actually calling in relation to online publishing in Yahoo Finance. I normally speak to the PR manager or head of marketing. Can you just direct me to the right person, please? Just something like that where it's you're not coming off as authoritative, you're not coming off as demanding, and you're literally just a person who's asking a question, you need help, and they're inclined to help you. So this way works really well. Also, when it comes to collecting information, they'll be like, yeah, it's probably Tom you have to speak to, and then they'll pass you through to Tom, who normally would be the right person. And if he's not the right person, you can get more information out of him and get connected with the right person. So this is approach number one. You play on the fact that they're inclined to help people, and you go in with a really confused, inquisitive, and just curious approach, trying to be connected with the right person, and you don't let on you're a salesman. And then obviously once you're through to decision maker, you go into your normal pitch. At that point, you let on you're a salesman, but before then you don't. So that's number one, how to approach them. Number two is when you have information on the decision maker. So this is a different way of doing it. You've got information going in, the full name, the last name of the decision maker, but maybe you're calling the business normal phone. So you call up, receptionist answers, you can tell because it's normally a woman. You can normally tell by the tone they're talking and how the speed of how they're talking and just how they treat you in general. So when you're approaching with full name, last name of the decision maker, you want to have a really strong framed approach and very direct. So you want to speak to the receptionist, how their boss, how the decision maker would speak to them. So decision makers, C-suite executives, they're very direct, they're very straight to the point. They don't want to beat around the bush. So when you call up with this approach where you have information, that really just allows you to not beat around the bush, just simply say, hey, it's Sam here from Creative Media. Can you just pass me through to John, please? Thank you. So by doing this, you're speaking to them how their boss would speak to them. So when you then ask to speak to their boss, they immediately think, oh, it sounds the same. It sounds like this is another important decision maker of another business, owner of another business. He just wants to speak to the boss, and they'll put you straight through. So the reason this works is because you have to build trust. Trust is at the core of every sale, and technically getting past a gatekeeper is a sale. So for this approach specifically, what builds is trust? And that's the information you have. So you going in and just off the bat saying the name of the decision maker in that business, that immediately builds trust because clearly you know who it is, you know who you want to be speaking to. So the receptionist immediately, it builds a bit of rapport, it builds a bit of trust, and it allows them to pass you through normally with no question asked at this point. You frame it as a question, kind of, can you pass me through, please? And then you just say thank you at the end to kind of end it there so they can't say no. And normally they will pass you through. If they don't pass you through, this is when you need to go into the information dump. So an information dump is just a shit ton of information. Doesn't particularly have to make sense. Doesn't have to be anything specific. Just a bunch of information where the receptionist can go, oh, this is way over my pay grade. Let me just pass him through. So in terms of marketing, say I was just selling a normal marketing service. With this, when I would go into the information dump, it would be, hi, it's Sam here from Creative Media. Can you pass me through to John, please? Thank you. Decision maker might go, oh, why do you want to speak to John? I'd go, oh, I was just getting on a call with John. We spoke over email. It was regarding increasing the certain side when it comes to organic marketing on social media and specifically your email campaigns. And with this, we were actually talking about launching a project potentially in February. And then with that, we were just going to get on a call now just to talk about that. Can you pass me through, please? So here it is an information dump. It is just a lot of information where it's going to basically just the receptionist is going to say, fuck this, I'm going to pass you to my boss, the decision maker. He clearly can be handling this. This clearly is above my pay grade. In the information dump, you don't necessarily have to tell the truth, but I wouldn't say lying. So when it comes to it, you can bend the truth a little bit with a receptionist. Like with a receptionist, just you can bend the truth. Fuck it, it's a fucking receptionist. But with a decision maker, never lie. Always be direct. Always be straight to the point. That's how they like to speak. So you speak to them in the same tone and same manner they speak themselves. So decision makers be very direct, straight to the point. But with receptionists, you can do an information dump. It's there as sort of a smokescreen to confuse them, to just get them to pass you through. And then you can twist the truth with your information dump a little bit. So there again, this is the way it works is because you have that trust being built from the information you go in with, so the decision maker's name, and then you speak to them how the decision maker will speak to them. So in their mind, they go, okay, this is clearly someone who's on the same level as my boss. That means he clearly has the right to be speaking to them. He's probably not a salesman. And they'll normally pass you through with that authoritative tone. If they don't, you deploy the information dump. And then from there, they will normally pass you through. Worst case scenario, you just get some more information out of them about this decision maker, about when he might be free, when's a good time to call back, and you have a quantifiable next step. So callback date, callback time, when's a better time, will they reach out to you? Just have some next steps in place. And if we go back here to when you've got minimal information on decision maker, I just want to explain the reason why this works. And the reason why this confused inquisitive approach works, obviously, as I mentioned, one of the roles of a receptionist is to help people who are confused and needs to be connected with the right person. So obviously it plays on that point. But on top of that, what it does here is the trust has to be built some way, and they're not going to pass you through without trust. So when you come with that confused inquisitive approach, the trust is actually built through them trying to help you, through them feeling like you're not a threat, you're not a salesman, you're just someone who needs help. And immediately that builds trust because they feel like they're the one leading the conversation. They feel like they're the one who's actually controlling it. When in reality, you're playing a role here. You're playing a bit of a character to get through the gatekeeper and get to the decision maker, but they don't know that. So that's the two approaches you can use. And then the third sort of way talking to a decision maker can go is if they don't pass you through. So a call is not a wasted call if they don't pass you through. There's still a lot you can get out of the receptionist. So if you see back here, boys, if you see here, I talk about the three main roles of a receptionist. Number one, stop shit salesmen wasting their boss's time. So this plays into just the whole array of things. So they don't want to let you through if you're a shit salesman. You're going to waste their boss's time. They also want to connect customers' inquiries with the correct person. So that plays into number one when you're going in with no information. But then they also act as a personal assistant for the decision maker. So this knows they will probably know that it's very likely the receptionist knows the ins and outs of a business. It's very likely they know the decision maker's schedules. They know the sort of projects he likes to pursue. They know what convinces him to pursue a project because they're working with him on a direct basis, normally one-to-one, and normally as a personal assistant, secretary. But this isn't the case all the time, but it does occur like this often. So what you can do is you can actually use the decision maker if they don't pass you through to collect a bunch of information. Like, is he busy? Is he in a meeting? collect as much information as you can, and then you find a time to call back. Maybe you'll try to get the personal number, personal email of the decision maker, but worst case scenario, you find a time, you tell the receptionist you're going to call back then, and maybe you send over some information for the receptionist to pass over to the decision maker, or you send over to the personal email, personal number you get, and then you call back on that arranged time, and you just call back, say, hey, it's Sam again. I was just calling back to speak to John regarding the PR. Can you pass me through, please? And from there, because you've had that prior conversation, because you've arranged a call back, it's the likelihood of them passing you through, you getting that conversation with the decision maker, and also the likelihood of you booking a deal is going to increase a lot. So make sure you don't fuck off a call once they just don't pass you through to the decision maker. There's a lot of information collecting you can do. Just add this in the notes in the CRM. It all helps. Add a task to follow up, and then you do that follow up and hopefully book the meeting. So overall, the outcome of all of this is going to be very simple. You can have way more conversations with decision makers. You're going to get through way more gatekeepers. If you're going to get through way more gatekeepers and have more meaningful conversations, you're going to book more meetings. And that means you're going to make more commission for yourself and more revenue generated for the business. And the way you're going to do this is, one, you're going to get through to obviously more receptionists, and you're going to have more follow-up calls booked because you're not letting the calls go. If you can't get through, you're just not letting them just go like that. You're still pushing for more information. You're pushing for a next step. You're pushing for a callback date. And then you'll also feel a lot more fulfilled when cold calling, because I was a cold caller myself, boys. It's fucking shit. Waking up in the morning knowing you got 200 calls to do, it's not fun at all. So when you're having those 200 calls you've got to do, but you're actually speaking to decision makers, you're actually making progress, you're actually getting a shot at booking a meeting. It's way more fulfilling when you're sitting there talking to business owners, talking to CEOs, talking to heads of different sectors of the business. It's way more fulfilling talking to those people all day than it is talking to some bitchy receptionist all day. So what you want to be doing is, when you are actually getting to the decision maker, that is the time to learn. That is the time to progress. That is the time to practice your sales skills. The receptionist is just a fucking barrier. It's a gatekeeper. You're not going to learn when you're talking to them. It's just a boring conversation that's not going to fulfill you at all, because it's not going to lead to money. But when you're talking to more decision makers on a daily basis, you're going to feel a lot more fulfilled because you're actually putting the skills you're learning into practice and getting a shot at booking a meeting, which is going to earn you commission. So that's a brief overview there of the ways I go about approaching decision makers. So to recap, there's 3 different ways. There's, if you've got no information going in, you want a really inquisitive and quite curious approach. If you've got information going in, you want a more direct, authoritative approach. And then if you don't get through, that's when you want to turn it into information collecting and collect information from the receptionist to obviously put into your CRM and save, especially if you are targeting industries, niches where you're going more of a sniper approach with the targeting, so less mass just fucking spray and pray, and you want to make more of each lead because they're more valuable. When you're really adding this notes to the CRM, doing proper follow-up calls and adding more value to each lead and putting more time into each lead, you're just going to have a way higher chance of booking meetings. So that's the main point of this, boys. Just, you need to get through the decision maker. That's the first hurdle to get through. Once you're through there, the fun actually starts, and you can start talking to decision makers and booking meetings.